Hello friends, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Danny and today I am going to be doing some fantasy predictions for the Goodreads Choice Awards. I love doing this every year. This has kind of become a tradition on my channel. I've done it the past 2 years and I have created a game to go along with it. I'm going to continue the game this year. I like to kind of see where my stats go, whether or not I will beat the next, level that I've given myself this year. I think it's going to be very fascinating. So sit back, get ready for some of the books I think are going to make the list this year. First and foremost, let's just give you guys a little bit of a reminder about the game, just in case you didn't watch my video last year. The game's going to stay the same because I do want to be able to kind of build off of my stats each year and see how I progress, if I get better at my predictions or worse, or if there are just certain years that I'm completely out of touch with the fantasy world. So last year, what I did was I got 1 point for every book that I got in the top 20. Didn't matter where they were ranked, as long as I predicted that they were going to be in the top 20 list that Goodreads puts out for fantasy, I got a point. This does not count books that go into the romantasy category, or God forbid they put another subcategory of fantasy. I mean, I would love it, but like if that happens, it completely messes up my predictions. So we're just going to say, if it's not in the general fantasy category, I'm not going to get a point for it. But if it does make that top 20 list, I get 1 point. And then for the top 10 in this list that I'm going to give you guys, I don't rank the bottom 10, but I will rank my top 10. And out of those rankings, if I get them correct, so if I put a book in the correct ranking, I get 1 point, 1 additional point. And if I'm 1 place off, so if I put something in 3rd place, but it actually gets 2nd place, then I would still get a half a point. In 2023, I actually didn't have this game, but I did go back and calculate how many points I would have gotten had my predictions been correct and using the point values that I just given you. And I would have gotten 12 points in 2023. In 2024, I got 15.5 points. So I did actually meet my goal last year, which was just to beat my previous score. And I'm going to make my goal the same. I want to beat my previous score. I don't know that we're going to keep doing this year after year, but I'm going to say I need to get 16 points or above in order to win the game. If I don't win the game, my punishment is to put out a reading vlog, and that reading vlog will have 2 or 3 books depending on time and access and things like that. And what this is going to involve is I will read the lowest voted for books within the Goodreads Choice Awards. Last year, I ended up doing the lowest rated books on Goodreads, but since all Goodreads nominees have to be a 3.5 or higher, I figured I'd change that up this year. So whichever books end up on the bottom of the list for sci-fi, fantasy, or horror, I will choose from those books. I'm going to give myself a little bit of a boon and say that I don't have to pick the lowest. I could pick the lowest or the 2nd lowest voted for book in any of these 3 genres. And I have to read at least 2 of them, hopefully all 3 for that vlog if I don't win my game. As for a reward, last year I made it to where I had 2 rewards. I could buy a book from the Goodreads Choice Awards and I could buy a favorite book of the year. And to be honest, I'm gonna do that anyway. So I don't really feel like it's a reward. I guess I could make it a reward and just have it be kind of a fun bonus to the end of the year, but I don't know. I kind of thought I would ask you guys if you have any suggestions on what I could do for rewards for myself if I end up making my goal for the Goodreads Choice Awards fantasy predictions. I want to see, pick your brains a little bit and see if you guys have better ideas than I do. I kind of think it would be fun if you guys give me a whole bunch of options. I could put it in like a spinner wheel and spin to figure out what my, what my prize will be if I do end up winning. I think that would be kind of fun to do in the reaction video. So anyway, I'm going to leave it up to you guys. If you have a suggestion for me, leave it down in the comments down below. Okay, we are going to hop into the predictions. Kind of. Before I get to my actual top 20, I am going to give you guys some honorable mentions. Books that I think might make the list. They just barely missed the mark for me putting them in my list, but I want to mention them just to kind of put them on your radar to see if you guys think that maybe I chose wrong and I should have included these books instead. So the first of those is Among the Burning Flowers. I think this is the 3rd book in the Samantha Shannon series that started with Priory of the Orange Tree. I think one of them was a prequel, if I remember correctly. I haven't read the series, but the third book did come out this year. The reason I didn't put it on this list is because it doesn't have very many people who've read it so far. There's only 3,400 ratings-ish on Goodreads. Remember that those numbers fluctuate, so it might be a little bit higher now. And the average rating is a 4.22. So people are in general liking it, but I think I just figured that it would have more reads at this point. I didn't write down when it came out, so maybe that's a factor, but that's why it's not in my top 20. I also put Watermoon in here. I've heard a ton about Watermoon, and 36,000 people have read it. The rating isn't quite so high as the Samantha Shannon. It's 3.78. I didn't put it on here because I think it might be in Romantasy. I don't think it's Romantasy, so don't take it that way. But the Romantasy category confuses me because sometimes there were some things in there that people were saying wasn't really Romantasy, and I don't know if this is going to be one of those cases. So I was just a little leery in putting it in my list. The next one, I'm a little bummed that it won't be on the list, and that's Brigands and Bread Knives by Travis Baldree. This only has 415 reads, but it's because it's not published yet, and it publishes on November 11th. Which I don't know. I couldn't find the cutoff dates for 2025 anywhere. I think they might publish that once the long lists are published, or maybe I just don't know how to Google. But I did find the cutoff dates for 2024, and it was November 12th. And so I'm like, ooh, it's right on the cusp, and I know they change every year by a couple of days, and so I just didn't want to put it on my list just in case it wasn't eligible. To Clutch Eraser by Veronica Roth. Yeah, I think that's the author's name. This is the author of the Divergent series, and the first book was among... Ooh, I'll put the picture up on the screen. I did read it, and I enjoyed that book. This one doesn't have as many ratings as I would have expected it to, and I've heard some not so great things about it, although its rating is really high. It's got a 4.29 rating, but only 1,400 people have read it, so I just don't know if it's going to make it. The first book in the series, the Among whatever, the book that I can't remember the name of it, it was in the Goodreads Choice Awards, so this one might be, but sometimes sequels don't make it. We'll find out, I guess. This next one I didn't put on my top 20 because I didn't like this book, and if it makes the list, it's going to make me a little mad. So this is where I fail at my game, because instead of doing the smart thing and a book that has a lot of ratings actually putting it on my list, I am specifically not, because I am putting it into the air and having faith that it won't make the list. But we'll see if that works out for me. This is called Aftertaste. It has 9,900 ratings and a 3.95 average rating on Goodreads. And so it very well could make the top 20, especially because I think it's a debut. I'll correct myself if I'm wrong, but I think it's a debut. A lot of people have talked about it. It wasn't for me, and I would be, like I said, I'd be upset if it made the list and took the place of another book that I think is probably more deserving. And then to top off my honorable mentions is a book that I actually think I'm going to dearly love, but I don't know if it will quite make the list, and that's The Book That Held Her Heart by Mark Lawrence. This is the third book in the library series. It has 6,000 ratings, but its rating is a 3.75 or 3.78 average rating, which isn't terrible. It's the last book in the trilogy. I don't think the second book in the trilogy made the list last year, and so that's why I'm hesitant to put the third book on. So I don't know if I'm making a mistake, because the book that wouldn't burn, the first book in the series, was in the Goodreads Choice Awards. So this is a little bit risky. Moving on to talk about my actual predictions for the top 20 Goodreads Choice Awards. I'm not going to rank the bottom 10. So the first 10 books that I talk about are just going to be a hodgepodge. There are some that I definitely think are going to be more towards the top 10 than others, but I don't have them ordered that way. So I'm just listing the bottom 10 currently. The first one is The Raven Scholar. This book has been everywhere. I would be shocked if it wasn't on the Goodreads Choice Awards. I'm not quite sure if this author will become or will be on the debut list. I can't remember. I know that this is the author's first try at fantasy, but they do have other works, and I can't remember if that's a stipulation of that debut category. Is it just debut period, or is it debut in the genre? I can't remember. But The Raven Scholar has an average rating of 4.46 and it has 15.6 thousand ratings right now on Goodreads. I did not enjoy this book, so if this ends up getting higher than the bottom 10, I'm gonna be mad because I do think that there are quite a few other fantasy books that I would prefer take its place. I understand and I will be okay if it is on the top 20 because I do think a lot of people have enjoyed it. It has pulled a lot of people into the fantasy genre, which I appreciate. I just don't think it deserves a top 10 slot. Next on my list is actually one that I own, and that is Green Teeth by Malia O'Neill. I really enjoyed this book this year, and I'm hoping that it will make the list. I'm also pretty sure that this was a debut, so maybe this will make the debut list as well. Currently, this book has a 3.96 on Goodreads, and 7,600 people have read it, so it does have a chance. This came out in February, so it's had a good long time to, you know, saturate the market and make sure people know that it's out there. So I'm hoping. I've seen it on a ton of people's lists. I do think that it has enough name recognition that it could end up in the top 20. Next is a little bit of a risk because I'm really putting it on here because of the author's name, not necessarily because of the book's notoriety, which could bite me in the butt because it has in the past. And that's Summer War by Naomi Novik. This book did come out in September, which is why I think the numbers are so low as far as the amount of people who have read it. There's 2,300 people that have rated it so far on Goodreads. I didn't check the number of people who have it shelved. I should do that next year. That might be an interesting stat to look at prior to the Goodreads Choice Awards coming out. It's too late now because I'm already filming this, but I do think that would be interesting to see how many people are interested in it. Naomi Novik is a really well-known author and she has been on the Goodreads Choice Awards before, and so I think that it has a chance and I'm betting on it. I'm hoping that her notoriety ends up putting her on this list, but we'll see. The next one, I am almost positive. I would be shocked if it's not on this list, or if it's not, it will be in a different category, and that's Hemlock and Silver by T. Kingfisher. T. Kingfisher is a Goodreads darling, and so if they don't make the list, I'm going to be astounded at the fact that they're not on there. This book has also been really well received. It's got a 4.13 average rating, and 12,000 people have picked it up so far. So this is one I desperately want to get to, and I'm really hoping that it's on here so I'll have a reason to get to it in the month of November because I can say that I'm reading for the Goodreads Choice Awards. Next is The Incandescent by Emily Tesh. Emily has been on the Goodreads Choice Awards before, and this book was published in May, has 6,500 people who have rated it on Goodreads. I've heard amazing things about this book, and I think it was it Some Desperate Glory was the other book by Emily Tesh that made the Goodreads Choice Awards, I think. And this just has a very similar vibe to it as far as the cover goes. I don't think the stories are the same at all, but I don't know. I just have a good feeling about this one. I do think this one's going to end up on the list. Next, I have Gifted and Talented by Olivia Blake. And this is another one I would be shocked to see if it wasn't on here because I know Olivia Blake has been just very, very large and the name recognition is there because of Atlas 6 and that trilogy. It's a trilogy, right? That one I haven't read. Sorry guys, don't come at me. Gifted and Talented is on my list, but it currently has a 3.56 average rating. And so technically, if it has a really bad run for the next couple of weeks, it could be kicked out of the running. So that's where the risk comes in for me, but I'm gonna take it. 9,100 people have read it so far. It came out in April, so I'm a little surprised that there aren't more people that have picked it up, but almost 1,000 reads, that's pretty good. I don't know, now I'm kind of doubting my decision, but I'm gonna stick to it just because of name recognition. We'll hope I'm right. I did that a lot in this list. You'll see a lot of authors. I think there's only 2 authors on my top 20, 3 maybe? Yeah, 3 authors on my top 20 that haven't been Goodreads Choice Awards authors before. So I hope I'm right in that prediction. The next one I have is The Dark Mirror by Samantha Shannon, who was a Goodreads author. And this one has a 4.55 average rating. 6,700 people have read it. It came out in February, so it's a little under as far as how many people I think would have read it, but I do think it's a sequel to The Swordcatcher. I was a little worried that this one was going to be in the romantasy category, but The Swordcatcher was in the fantasy category last year, and so that's why I'm putting this here. I don't know if that's the right choice because I do think that some people last year complained about certain books being in the fantasy category that should have been in romantasy, and certain books in romantasy that should have been in fantasy. And so I don't know if Goodreads will have listened to the complaints and then changed their ways, and this is going to change categories, which is going to completely mess up my prediction. But I'm going to stick with what they did last year and just think that this is going to end up in the regular fantasy category. Next in the bottom 10, I think, will be Adrift and Currents, Clean, and I didn't write down the whole title, but it's the Shauna Maguire. It's the next book that is in the Wayward Children series. I do think this will be on the list. Not all of the series has been on the list, but there's been 10 books. And so I don't know that that deters me. I actually didn't look at how many of them had made it. I know the first one did. And after that, I was like, okay, well, it's got a potential to make it. And I have heard a lot of people really like this one. It has an average rating of a 4.01 and 8,100 people have read it so far. So I think it has a pretty good chance, especially since some of these other books that I have, especially in the top, are a little chonky. And so putting some smaller books on the list, I think, could be helpful. I think Incandescent is pretty hefty. The Raven Scholar is pretty chunky, and then some of the books that I have in my top 10 are definitely larger books. So throwing some novellas in, I think, is a good idea as well. Next is the only book on this list that I have never heard of, which is another risk I'm taking. But I saw it in a couple of the Goodreads like news and interviews that they do throughout the year, and a lot of times those end up on the list. I don't remember if this one was a book of the month, because that's something else that I look at, and I didn't write down whether or not it was a book of the month. This is one that the author has never been on Goodreads before, so another risk, but it has a rating, an average rating of 4.12, and 7,100 people have read it so far, and that is The Midnight Bookshop. I also, since last year, and The Book of Doors ended up on the list, which I know is probably not comparable, because I think at that time The Book of Doors had like 31,000 reads and ratings on Goodreads, and this one only has 7,000. So maybe that's not a good comparison, but I'm just, for whatever reason in my head, I'm like, I feel like there has to be some type of a magical book oriented shop in the fantasy category. I don't know why. It's in my head, and we're gonna hope that I'm correct. Last year I did the same thing. It was slightly different, but The Foxwife was a prediction I made last year. It was a book I'd never heard of before. Now that one, the author had been a Goodreads Choice Awards winner before, and so it was a little less risky, but it won for me. Like, not won, but like, it came through for me as far as points go, and so I'm hoping this one will as well. The last of my bottom 10 hurts me a little bit, and it could be in the top 10. This is one of the ones that I did kind of think it was bobbling between the top 10 and the bottom 10, but it's a repeat author. And even though I love this author, I do not like when authors are repeated in the Goodreads Choice Awards. I understand that it's part of the rules that they can be, as long as they are in different series, they can be repeated. I'm not a fan of it, because it's only 20 people who are being represented in each category, and there are so many fantasy authors, so many authors in every genre that is represented by the Goodreads Choice Awards. I just don't think that we should be picking the same author twice. Even if, like this one, he is one of my favorite authors of all time, I don't think he should get two picks. I don't. So sorry if that's a hot take, but that is The Isle of the Emberdark, which is a book I really want to read. I'm hoping to read it in November. It has a 4.56 average rating on Goodreads, which is absolutely ludicrous. There was 16.2 people that have read it, so it very well could end up in the top 10, or 16.2 thousand. I think I just said 16.2. 16.2 thousand people who have read this, and I've heard nothing but good things. Brandon Sanderson is a very popular, very well-known author, but that doesn't always mean that he gets all of the votes. There have been years where he hasn't won, for one. He's not somebody like, Sarah J. Maas, who every time she's on the list, she wins. But I do think that he has name recognition to where he can get them. Now, something that might hurt him is if he does have, as I said, 2 books on the list, then he could split the vote, or it could split the vote if people like one over the other, which means it would hurt his chances of getting higher rankings within the Goodreads Choice Awards, but we'll see. On to the top 10 for the Goodreads Choice Awards. So these are going to be ranked. These are the ones that are going to impact my points as far as the placement goes. And we'll start with number 10. And this book I did read this year. I'm not going to tell you what I thought about it because it is a podcast book. So you'll have to go and check out the podcast at Not Reading for Content if you guys are interested. But that is The.Dabbles by Joe Abercrombie. This has a 4.26 average rating on Goodreads, and 37.3 thousand people have read it so far. It was published in May. Joe Abercrombie is a well-known author. There is name recognition there, and he has won the Goodreads Choice Awards before, or not won. I think he was just in the Goodreads Choice Awards before. So I think that this has a very good chance of getting into the top 10. There are, I think, some books, actually the next book that I pick has less people that have read it. And this is where I think I might be shooting myself in the foot, because a lot of times the number of people who have rated a book does indicate, obviously, fan following. And so we all know that all of us can vote, and so that's going to definitely impact who can vote on what. The reason I'm saying that The.Dabbles is going to be at the 10th spot instead of higher than this, even though it has 37.3 thousand people who have read it, is because I've heard a lot of mixed opinions. Now, the rating doesn't show that. A 4.26 is a really excellent rating on Goodreads, and so I don't quite know, maybe just the subgroup of people that I am in tends to lean one direction or the other, but I've heard very mid things about this book, and so I don't think there will be as many people. The 37,000 people I think are going to have other books that they would prefer get higher votes, I think. I'm hoping. We'll see. The next one has less ratings than that. It's got 16.4 thousand ratings, so quite a bit less. And it was published in March, so it has had enough time. And The.Dabbles was published in May. But, you know, I'm sticking to it. Like I said, risky. Ooh. This is The Rag Picker King, and this is by Samantha Shannon. Did I say? I feel like I got one of them wrong. No, this is not by Samantha Shannon. This is by Cassandra Clare. Is this the one that's the... I think I said something wrong in the other ones. I think Rag Picker King is the one that is the sequel to Sword Catcher. I think I'm mixing up Samantha Shannon with Cassandra Clare. Hold please. Yeah, I did. I'll have to go in whenever I edit and put like a little note in that, but The Dark Mirror, which I put in the bottom 10 by Samantha Shannon, is a sequel for the Bone season. And so it is not the Cassandra Clare, it's not the Sword Catcher, not a fantasy romance. Like, I was completely wrong. The Rag Picker King is the sequel to the Sword Catcher, which is the one I was a little bit taking a risk with, especially being that if it does end up being in Romantasy, I'm putting this in the number 9 spot, and so I could definitely lose a lot of points by putting this here, but I just feel like Cassandra Clare has big name recognition, Goodreads Choice Awards winner. This book is doing rather well, 4.4 average rating, and I do think people who voted for Sword Catcher in the previous round, was it last year or was it 2023? I think it might have been 2023. But the people who voted for that book originally, if they haven't voted or if they haven't read the sequel, but they still want to vote for the series, I think that that could also add to it. So that's why I'm putting it above The.Dabbles, because The.Dabbles is the first in a series. And so I don't know if it's going to have as much backing. Next, number 8 is The River Has Roots. This is by the same author as How to Lose a Time War. And that book was in the Goodreads Choice Awards. Did it win? It was all the rage that year. Actually, people still rant and rave about that book, and I actually need to read it myself. This one has had an amazing turnout. It's still less than The.Dabbles. 25,000 ratings, which is nothing to scoff at, but I'm thinking that with that other book, the How to Lose a Time War, and the amount of love that it's gotten within the past couple of years, I think is going to push this one over the edge, which is why I'm putting it in this spot. It has a 4-star average rating. It came out in March. This author, because of How to Lose a Time War, was a Goodreads Choice Awards author, so I think it has a lot of things going for it. We'll see if I regret that decision. The next one is it's going to be one of my favorite books of the year, and that is A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping. I freaking love this book. It is fantastic, and I hope that it gets higher than the 7th spot. I just don't know that it will. It has a 4.05 average rating, and there are 39.7 thousand people who've read it so far. This author also was on the Goodreads Choice Awards for The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, which is a very, not similar story, but similar vibes, I guess I'll say. And I don't have very many cozy books on this list, and I do think that there will be at least one cozy. I think this has a really good chance of being in the top 10 because it's a fantastic story. Next, we have another book I own, and that is A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett. The Tainted Cup was on the Goodreads Choice Awards, and so I'm hoping that this one will be because it was a fantastic sequel. If you like fantasy mysteries, please give this one a try because it's absolutely lovely. This has a 4.5 average rating on Goodreads. 26.5 thousand people have voted for this, or not voted for this, have rated this on Goodreads. Wow, I didn't realize how many people I put above the Devils that didn't have the 37,000 threshold. I think that this, I'll give you this little sneak peek for the podcast. This book is better than the Devils. So, I let my heart drive my decisions, which is probably not a great idea. I do think that this book has really good recognition though, because I think a lot of people have read The Tainted Cup, maybe haven't gotten to A Drop of Corruption, and will vote for it anyway, which you should because it's great. I mean, there's some other books in this list that I think are also amazing, but yeah. Robert Jackson Bennett's been on Goodreads before, name recognition. He's been around for a while in the fantasy genre, and so I'm hoping that he will get 6th place or higher on this list. Next, please do not yell at me for getting the name of this book wrong because I've heard it pronounced so many different ways, but it has to be on this list somewhere, and that is Catabasis by R.F. Kuang. This has a 3.9 average rating, 47.2 thousand people have read it, and it came out in August. R.F. Kuang has definitely been on the Goodreads Choice Awards before. Name recognition out the wazoo. The only thing I think holding this book back, and that's why I'm putting this in the number 5 spot instead of higher, is because I've heard bad things about the book. A lot of people who love R.F. Kuang have come out and said that they didn't enjoy this. A lot of them have also said that they did, but because it's a mixed bag, I'm not sure if the vote's going to be split, if they're going to vote for something else that they preferred because this one just wasn't what they were wanting. I'm not sure, especially after Babel. I'm trying to think of where Babel was in the rankings because it was on the Goodreads Choice Awards. I'm almost positive. Did it win? Did it win that year? Ooh, I'll have to put it up on the screen because I'm almost positive that it was on the Goodreads Choice Awards. I didn't look at that. I just knew that R.F. Kuang had been on the Goodreads Choice Awards before. But yeah, I think that people after reading Babel and having that experience didn't have that with Catabasis, and so I don't know that this one's going to receive as much love. And this next one is another risky one. It's actually one that it probably should be in my number 2 spot as far as the number of people who've read it and for name recognition, but I'm going to put it in the number 4 spot because a lot of people didn't enjoy it as much as they thought they were going to, including myself, and that is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. This one has an average rating of 4.01 and 97,700 people have read it. This came out in June. V.E. Schwab will be on this list. I have no doubt in my mind that she will be on the Goodreads Choice Awards. I just don't think she's going to win. This book in particular, I did enjoy certain aspects of it. I just thought it was a little disappointing, and I've heard many people talk about it and say kind of the same things. And so I think that V.E. Schwab's name will carry a lot of weight here, so I do think that she'll make top 4. I just don't know that she'll get past that because of so many people that didn't enjoy this story as much as they were hoping to. And the next one, this one bit me in the butt last year, but I'm gonna do it again. Oh, who am I? So this is The Bones Beneath My Skin. This is a TJ Klune. The average rating is a 4.11 and 33,600 people have read this book. It came out in October, so it hasn't had a ton of time, and there's already been 36,000 people who've read it. That's incredible. Last year, I put TJ Klune, I'm pretty sure, in the 3rd spot. They won. So maybe I should do the same thing this year, but I refuse. There are 2 other books that I think should go ahead of it. I know that this is a rankings video and I shouldn't go with my heart, but I'm going to. And I'm hoping that I'll be right this year because last year, and correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't read any of TJ Klune's canon, but last year the book was the sequel to House in the Cerulean Sea, which is like super popular. This one I think is the beginning of a new series. And so I don't know if it's going to have as much of a following. Now, name recognition is a thing, so it definitely could completely blow the competition out of the water because that's what happened last year, but you know, it is what it is. You guys can probably guess if you have been following my channel which books I put in the top 2. They are books that I do think deserve the top 2 spaces. I don't know if I'm going to be biting myself in the butt because in the second place position, I am putting Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales, and I did this last year, and I'm pretty sure Emily Wilde's got third, and that was the second book in the Emily Wilde series. This is the third book, so there's probably even less people who have read this one. This has a 4.11, 44,000 people have read it. It came out in February. I think that this book, and actually I didn't get it down, but I don't, where did I put it? Here. I do own this one. This is a special edition of it, and I think that this book is absolutely phenomenal. I think this was the best in the series. It was an amazing ending to an amazing series. I look forward to rereading it, and it deserves all of the recognition. And so I'm really hoping that Heather Fawcett will cinch the win at the end and maybe get first or second. I'm going to say second because the next book on my list I think has a lot of recognition as well. And this is the second Brandon Sanderson. So I am going to put Wind and Truth in my top spot. This has 115,000 people who've read it. It came out in December, so it's had a ton of recognition. Now it has slowed down because like it's been a year, and I know that some of these other books will catch up with it within a year, and so I do think it's a little risky to put it at the top. However, it's Stormlight Archive. It's the end of an arc in Stormlight Archive. I think a lot of people were talking about it. I think a lot of people who love Stormlight who even haven't gotten here will still vote for this. I'm not sure though, because I know that there have been other Stormlights in the Goodreads Choice Awards that haven't won. I'm pretty sure Rhythm of War was in whenever, was it published 2022? Was it 2020? Is that far away? Ooh, that's a long time ago. But anyway, I think it was in the Goodreads Choice Awards, and it didn't win the year that it was in. So I loved it though. It was so good. It was my best book of the year last year. I think that it deserves it. Whether or not this will bite me in the butt, we shall see. I know that Sanderson last year was it last year? Or was it in 2023? I think it was in 2023 because it was the book of Sanderson, or the year of Sanderson, when Tress was in second place in the Goodreads Choice Awards. So I do think this one has a chance. And as far as all of the books that I have written down, it is the one that has currently been read the most, which is incredible because it's like a 1,500 page book. I can't actually remember how many pages, but I know the audiobook was like 27 hours long. It was 27 hours. It was like 62 hours long. I don't know where I got the 27 from, but I remember having to like line out, because I only have audiobooks for 21 days. I had to line out like how many hours I had to read in a day in order to get through it in the 21 days that I had, which is incredible. But the fact that 115,000 people have read this book with it being so long and it being the 5th in the series is just an amazing feat. And so I hope that it gets the #1 spot. Oh, friends, so that is my list. That's my top 20 for the Goodreads Choice Awards with some honorable mentions. I know I have missed books in this list because there's just not enough time in the world to do research for this. I do think I have a pretty good list. I would be surprised if I don't get at least 12 out of the 20 books that not in the right places. But if I don't get 12, I'm going to be disappointed in myself because I do think that I've done enough research to find the books that are the most notable, or a lot of the books that are the most notable. But, we'll see. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys have books that I have missed, if you think I should have put something in a different order, what you think about the things that I've done. Is there anything that you think I just got completely wrong? And of course, if you have a reward that you would like me to put in my spinner wheel to figure out, if I do happen to win this one, what I should get in, as a reward, let me know in the comments down below. If you aren't feeling chatty, but you still want to let me know that you're here, leave me a flora or fauna emoji, because all of the books that are in my collection that I have predicted on this list have some type of greenery on the front cover. So I would love to see all of the flowers and trees and bushes and stuff that you put in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you have a lovely evening, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.